The spirit of fear. Fear is something that can overwhelm even the believer, even the most devout believer in the Lord. I want to talk just a few minutes about that. At the time of this video, we are living in the midst of the coronavirus and national riots, protests, and actually international protests. It is a time unlike many other times in the past, and I'm a pretty objective person and recognize that we could point to other times in history to say, well, actually, this time in history was even worse. And understanding and being sensitive that in our perspective, at this moment, it seems like such a daunting, negative, unique time in our society. And although there is a lot of truth to that, it is, in the grand scheme of things, a fleeting moment. Now, that stipulated, there is still a sense of fear. There are many reasons to feel fearful. There are a large number of people who have lost their jobs, who may feel as though they will acquire the coronavirus, or may already have acquired the coronavirus and are ill. There is a sense that their business might be rioted or looted, or their neighborhood business might be. There may be an uncontrolled mob that visits their neighborhood. There is a sense that there is a societal breakdown. There are a number of reasons that at the time of this video, you may feel overwhelmed and be visited by the spirit of fear. It's a real spirit. It's a real entity. The scriptures tell us about it. Now, as part of my own testimony, and as part of the uniqueness of Nos Logos, I want to share a little bit of insight into how fear is used. Specifically, how the enemy, Hasatan, the devil, can use this spirit even against the believer. In my days in the occult, I and others did many different rituals. We conducted ourselves in a way that would have a certain outcome for our benefit. And my particular path into the occult was to exhibit a presence of authority and darkness and malice and Satanism, for lack of a better term. There was a sense that I was able to be a type of sorcerer. Those who encountered me who may have no idea of my occult practices had a little bit of a reservation as to who I was and what my motives were. Those who did know me as somebody who practiced the occult understood and respected, I say that in quotes, how intense my devotion was. Now, whether a person was like myself or even a little bit lighter in the New Age or practiced Wicca or some of the lighter occult practices, a lot of what is done to achieve their goals is to convince somebody else, influence somebody else that they have power, that they can control certain things, certain spiritual, cosmic, energetic forces. And a prime example of that is, let's say there is a situation where a sorcerer or occultist or a magician is in the midst of doing a ritual or casting a spell. And the person whom that spell is directed knows about it. A large percentage of that spell, of that trickery, of that spiritual involvement lies in convincing the other person that they're doing it. The mere fact that a sorcerer or magician allows the other person to know that they're doing something can sometimes be the whole objective. Just by the mere knowledge that the subject of that spell, so to speak, that person realizing that there is a spell being cast on him, that there are certain rituals being done to influence him, that subject then lives in fear, paranoid, scared, thinking, oh my goodness, what's going on? And whether or not the actual spell that was done or cast leads to the specific outcome of that person, if that person is convinced that something's being done, anything can be perceived as a result of that initial spell. For example, specifically, let's say person A casts a spell on person B, and person B walks around thinking about this. If they get in a car wreck, person B thinks, oh my goodness, person A cast a spell that I would get into this car wreck. Person B breaks up with his or her significant other, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend. Oh my goodness, person A casts this spell on me. Person B loses his or her job. Whatever happens now to that person is perceived to be the result of what person A did. And that person B lives in perpetual fear. Now, this is just to draw the parallel between direct interaction of what happens in the occult and magic and these certain types of spiritual warfare that happens. But taking it to a different level, whether or not there's a direct spell that's cast, or whether or not there is an actual ritual done on somebody, that spirit of fear can be disabling. It can bring a person to his or her knees to just drop and say, oh my goodness, everything around me is a result of what's happened from this other source. Sometimes that happens even among believers. And I want to encourage you to be strong in the Lord and know that your hope lies with Him. No matter what's happening around us, do not live in the fear of this world. Whether it is the coronavirus, whether it is a result of riots and protests and social unrest, do not let something unrelated cause you to live in fear for other reasons. Folks, our hope lies in the risen Messiah and overcoming the grave. For me to live is Messiah, and to die is gain. Even at the worst case scenario, if we are to lose our lives, we have hope in Him. There is no reason to fear. There is no reason to live in paranoia and be scared of what's happening around us. Stay encouraged and live in the hope that He provides. Stay happy. Have a spirit of joy. Be contagious. Infect your neighbor with joy because He is risen and He has redeemed you. My brother, my sister, please, I encourage you right now by the supernatural working of Messiah, our risen Lord. I cast away all that spirit of fear, and may you be blessed with a spirit of joy and rejuvenation. May the Lord bless you.